Another Eden Vares. He's got a six-pack and he's got that emotional yelling face going on, but is he as good as he looks? It's David Wowee. How you going? I've got the ultimate Vares guide for you, and you don't want to miss out on this, because if you have him, I'll let you know how to turn your Vares into the beast of beasts, and if you don't have him, I'll let you know if he's worth the pull. Huge thanks to Best Boy for his guidance and video clips, and to MPG's son, who's older than him, Frosting Let It Go, for their feedback on my notes. And much love to my super members. Thank you very much. Vares was first introduced to players since the beginning of the game, and much to fans' delight, he's now playable. But does he live up to the hype? Vares is a shade slash character who primarily works as a shade tank, and is particularly useful with physical attack teams. Why? You'll find out soon. If you have his 4-star version and want to upgrade to his 5-star, which is an absolute must, you need to take one Atlas Tome, which you can randomly get in the Snake Liver Damocus Another Dungeon, along with the required scripts to Time's Forgotten Stop. Now let's look at his best skills and what makes him unique. There are 3 things you need to aim for when using Vares. The first is what I believe his primary purpose is: to shield your bloody team. The next is to use one skill, which I'll talk about soon, to weaken and then shred your enemy's resistance to physical attacks. Finally, you need to build up his stacks called Beastfire stacks, as this makes everything better. With more stacks, he can improve your shields, he can shred even more of your enemy's defenses, and he can even deal more damage. Now here's the setup. I'd start with either Provision Ward or Provision Foil. Provision Ward improves your team's speed, gives a barrier to all party members, and chucks in a 40% damage reduction while you're there. But you know what annoys me about this skill? It lasts for the current turn only, so you'll have to have this skill on repeat if you want this barrier. Provision Ward also stacks 2 Beastfires at the end of the turn, which is useful because this skill also improves Vares' HP relative to the amount of Beastfire stacks he has. If you have 5 stacks, he gets a crazy 3000 boost to his HP. But look closely at the end of turn thing, which means you can't hack it during another force and have to patiently wait each turn to gain stacks. Provision Foil, on the other hand, is useful if you know you're fighting an enemy that knocks your team members to the reserves or gives you an annoying status effect like poison. This is because it gives your team status and knockback immunity 2 times. And here's the even better bit: you give your squad a shield with HP equal to 6000, but annoyingly for 1 turn only. So it's another skill you need on repeat. On top of that, you get 2 Beastfire stacks at the end of turn if one of your allies are attacked, and just like with the skill Provision Ward, you get an HP bump relative to the number of Beastfire stacks you have. Besides being a tank, Vares has the ability to deal some decent damage. That's if you want him to, because it takes some work. An example of this is with the skill Carnage, which you can use as Vares' nuke skill. It deals a 3 times double XL shade slash on a single enemy, but it doesn't work if you don't have any Beastfire stacks. And if you have 5 stacks, you get a 100 times multiplier, and it deals another 5 times double XL shade slashes on a single enemy and activates Countdown Mode. In Countdown Mode, your damage and healing will increase by 40% for 4 turns. Vares will deal a passive and amplified end of turn XL shade slash attack on a single enemy. On the 4th turn of Countdown Mode, the skill multiplier will increase and you get a Beastfire stack. The thing I don't like with Carnage is that it eats up all your stacks, which means you'll have to work hard again to get the max stacks you need for the HP boosts you get with Provision Ward and Foil, as well as the stack you need to maximize the debuffs in the next skill I'm talking about. Another option is, if you want to go 100% support with Vares, you could just not have Carnage in your skill slot to make room for any of the other skills I've mentioned in this video. The next skill, Ravenous Fall, can be your spam skill if you haven't Stellar Awakened your Vares, and it can also shred the living daylights out of your enemy's power, intelligence, and physical resistance. The best part is, if you have a Beastfire stacked, you get a massive 1.5 times debuff effect on the already decent debuffs you're applying with this skill. To summarize, these are the skills I'd use if my Vares wasn't Stellar Awakened. But what if your Vares is Stellar Awakened, and if he isn't, is it worth Stellar Awakening him? If you Stellar Awaken Vares, you'll firstly get 3 passives. First, you get a Stellar Gauge fill bonus if you have 3 or more Shadow members in the front line. Second, when Stellar Burst is activated and the gauge has majority Shadow, the physical and magic resistance of all party members increase by 30%. This one is kind of sucky as it's for the current turn only, so it's probably designed for people who want to one-shot finish finish an enemy during another force. The third thing you get is Rage Inflict at start of battle, which is useful especially if you have damage dealers with weaker defenses like Isuka Akis. This battle start Rage also increases Vares' physical and magic resistance, but frustratingly, it's only for one turn like a bunch of stuff I've mentioned already. Why is this? Finally, we have Vares' Stellar Burst skill, Howling Smash, which he can also use as his spam skill. It's a double XL shade slash attack on all enemies that boosts Vares' max HP, gives him single focus, restores his HP with 10% damage inflicted, restores all statuses, and if done during Stellar Burst, gives you a 20 times multiplier. The most important part about this stellar skill, and the reason why a lot of players say that Stellar Awakening Vares is important, is because of the Beastfire stacks you can get from this skill. You get 1 stack of Beastfire during its normal use, and you get 3 stacks during Stellar Burst. This quickly pushes you to the 5 stacks you need to maximize Vares' buffs, debuffs, and even his nuke skill, Carnage. As a summary, he is my personal favorite skill allocation if my Vares would be Stellar Awakened, situation dependent of course. Should you Stellar Awaken Vares? Mostly yes. Why do I say that? Your life becomes so much easier. His stellar skill, Howling Smash, will let you stack those beast fires you need to get the most out of his buffs, debuffs, and Carnage attack skill much quicker than having to rely on stacking them per turn. The Rage passive, although not a deal breaker, can still be very useful if you want to take away the heat from your weaker allies. On top of that, Howling Smash can also be a stronger spam skill to use during another force compared to Ravenous Fall, allowing you to deal much more damage. Everything will just go much more smoothly if you Stellar Awaken him, just know that. Now let's make him better with the right equipment. I think there are 2 options to his equipment. First is if you want to play him as a full tank, and the other is if you want him to be able to deal a bit of damage. So if you want him to be more of a support character, you can try this. For weapon, the Lunar Axe Reforged or the Dryad's Axe. For badge, a Speed Badge. For armor, the Stamped Necklace. For Grasner, you can choose from Type and Physical Resistance Grasner, or Type and Physical Debuff Resistance Grasner, or Enhance with Max HP Shade for Shade teams. And while we're with Shade teams, you can try the Power of Offense S, and you can use shareable personality Grasner such as the Almighty Power Beast Grasner or the Almighty Power Glasses Grasner. And for ores, you can try enhance your Grasner with Resonant Power Shadow ores for shadow based teams. If you want to deal more damage, you can give Vares the Elpis Axe. For armor, you can try the Byakuya Necklace, Pitch Dark Necklace, and the Scarlet Glow Necklace if you activate an Awaken Zone in battle. For badge, you can try the Power Badge. For Grasner, the Weak Points Dry Grasner, and the regular Power of Pain Grasner, amplified with the Bullseye, Rose with Thorns, and Awaken Zone Enhanced ores. What are the best teams for Vares? He's really great with any team that needs a solid tank to help it survive longer, and is particularly good with physical attack type teams because of his physical resistance shredding abilities. If you want some examples of teams, a Shade team could include Vares, obviously, with Isuka Akis, Tuva ES, and Iffy. You could substitute Iffy or Tuva ES with Kagurame. A free team could include Yuna. I know she's Grasner, but she's technically free if you decide to pull her with a Guiding Adventure token. You can have Benedict or Senya Another Style as your damage dealer, and then as a support, Nonna Another Style. Not the best team, but it's free and beggars can't be choosers. For sidekicks, you can have Moki, and if you want a free option, Oromaru. The final question is, should you pull for Vares? Pull him for his 6-pack and his love for his sister, Miris baby. It's been a while since we've had a solid tank, let alone a decent shade element support character. Vares, although he has DPS abilities, seems designed mainly as that unit you equip in your team if you need some solid shields. The good part about him is that he can mold himself into a variety of team styles, elements, and types, but one thing to remember is that he does particularly well with physical attack teams and less so with magic teams. If he's Stellar Awakened, his passives also let him do better with teams who are mainly shadow. Don't get him if you need a healer or an amplifier who will make your attack unit stronger. Others like Kagurame, Iffy, Munfa, Alta, and Yuna already exist and can do a better job depending on the situation, need, and team setup. That being said, these characters could be used alongside Vares to make your team even better. Vares' main job is to defend your team, and as I said, is particularly useful with physical attack type teams, and looks like he exists purely to complement Isuka Akis at this point in time. If you need a dude with a 6-pack, grab him. Don't want your Isuka Akis to die? Lock in his banner right now. Need a shade tank? Pull him for good times. Otherwise, save your resources. I'm David Wowee. Like and sub or become a super member to support this channel. A huge shout out to my existing super members. If you enjoy this video, check out my other videos. You're gonna love them.